But what does that actually mean? What does going public mean, and how does that fit into our strategy? So, as I explained previously in one of our meetings, is that when you buy a stock, you're actually buying ownership of the company. But for us, if we buy one or two stocks that are worth $100, it doesn't really mean that much. What we're buying essentially is a share of their profit. So remember, this is what our EPS is. If you buy a share, you're buying part of the profit of the company. So you are entitled to what they make money-wise. But what does the company give up? They give up ownership. They give up decision-making because they have to make us happy because we supply them with money. In return for giving up that ownership, they receive the money that we pay for one single stock. Now, I'm not going to have a lot to say if I buy 6 shares, but if you ask Warren Buffett, who pumps in $500 million into a stock, he wants to know that his money is in good hands. So he wants to have a say in how a company is led. So that's really the exchange. And it's a lot to ask for a company to say, you know what, I don't want to be the sole decision maker anymore. I want to have other people that are responsible for what and how we do things. So if you put this on a classic pro and cons list, what's on the plus side? On the plus side, you get money. And that's pretty much the only thing. You might get a lot of money, and it's not necessarily a sure thing that you will get money because your stock price might go down. Again, think about Luke's presentation about how stock prices move. If you look on the negative side, though, you have a whole bunch of things that you have to do. You have to create all the reporting. So you have the annual reports where we get our information. To create those, it costs you a lot of money. The people that create those reports have to be paid. Things have to be done right. The way your operations, the way your company works, some of the processes have to be changed just for this reason. And most importantly, it has to be done right. Because if you do something wrong or if you have any shady business going on and somebody like us finds out about it, you're in a lot of trouble because we don't want to be invested in a bad company. And there's a lot of people with a lot more money than us who would be more than happy to sue a company that's doing shady stuff. So if you look at the pros and cons list, it doesn't really look like a very good idea to actually invest, to actually go public. But ask Elon Musk. He became the richest man in the world this year. He is running a company that doesn't make money. I don't know how many of you have actually researched the numbers on Tesla, but they still, in the year 2020, they didn't have a profit. So their sole income is off the share price going really, really high. With the shares going higher, Elon Musk makes more money because he has a lot of shares. Now, again, Tesla is a very good example, but there's a lot of examples going downwards. But obviously, we always want to go by the good example, so things can look very, very well. What also happened this week is that there was a secondary offering. Jet2 made $582 million by issuing additional shares, and they raised this money to actually survive the coronavirus crisis. Now, what does this actually mean? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? If they bring more shares to the existing share price. Remember that when I buy one share, I'm buying a piece of the profit. So if I buy 10 shares of $100 profit, I get $10 of profit. But if they now give out more shares, all the profit has to be divided by more shares. So I have less profit available to my shares. So that essentially is a bad thing because I don't want to share the profit that I've already gained. If you look at the other side of the flip side of this, here I circled what happened with the secondary offering. Jet2 offered their shares at $11.80, where the stock was trading before around 13 pounds. So what a lot of people did is they just sold their shares at 13 pounds. They locked in that profit and bought back again at a lower price. So they made sure that they kept that money and got, for the same amount of money, they got more profit in return. But essentially, you don't really want to see this happen because you're sharing your profit with more people. So what does this really mean for us? Do we want to invest in newly publicly traded companies or secondary offerings? No, we don't. First of all, initial public offerings or IPOs, they don't have a track record. We can't check the numbers, how they've been running. They only supply us with the years that they've actually been publicly traded, so we can't really trust them. We have to have that proof as lead pass investors that a company has been doing well over the course of 10 years. With a secondary offering, this is something that we can't really control. Companies are allowed to do it, and obviously it's a bad thing if you're invested in a company that has a secondary offering, but there's not much you can do. It's just something that we always have to keep a close eye on how the company is developing that we're invested in.